Hello, welcome back to the Infinity Stone podcast. I am your host, Matt. With me, as always, is Andy. And this week we are talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp. Andy, we're finally getting around to covering this movie, and it's going to be, this one's going to hold a special place for us because it's going to be the last movie in the MCU that we will be covering, having seen more than once. How does that feel?
Yeah, or at the very least, where we won't be making it, we'll have had time to think about it. Because I suppose there's a reality where, I don't necessarily see it's true, but maybe we go see like Endgame twice before, within one weekend or something. That'd be weird, but it could happen. But this is the last MCU one where we'll have had time to think about it, maybe even change our opinion. And how I feel about that is nervous for the future is kind of it, because instant reactions are different. They're a little tougher. Like even Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, for me, I'd seen it twice over a period of a couple of weeks. I guess that was more like what it was for you. We kind of talked about this movie before. We did a top 20 ranking, I believe.
Yeah.
Ranked 20. So we talked about it then. And now I've seen it like 3 times. And we'll see if my opinion has changed. What do you think? What are you thinking about how this will change for the future?
It's kind of like operating without a net, right? We won't have time to really, really think our opinions over. We will see the movie, and then our plan is to see the movie and then meet up a couple days later and record a podcast about them every time. And so, it's a little different when you come right out of a movie, you have your opinion, than whether when you see it, or even when you've had a chance to watch it at home, when you can pause it or, pay different type of attention to it when you're watching, on DVD or Netflix or whatever than you do when you're in the theater. So it'll be different.
As this series has progressed, formulating opinions on like Infinity War was a different thing than even Avengers. Avengers is a movie we'd seen dozens of times. We had feelings about
this is true.
Attachment. Whereas Infinity War, we were still working out our feelings. Even in that situation, I believe you had to watch it over 3 nights or something. But that was just like a second viewing for you. I believe maybe I'd seen it 3 times.
I actually watched it twice because I had to watch it over 2 nights because I wasn't feeling well one night, and it kind of colored my viewing. So that's what happened there. But no, it's true. And I still kind of feel like my opinion on that movie might change. I still feel that way about a movie, as far back as Black Panther. Some of my opinions about that, I kind of feel like they're not set in stone yet. So
not that we're going back to do any other podcast, whether things win Oscars or not. Once we talk about it, it's over. Our opinions are set in stone.
Never revisit. Right. Never go back.
So let's do that now. Let's set our opinions in stone about Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Wings and blasters. So I take it you didn't have that tech available for me?
No, I did.
It's a pleasure doing business with you, Sonny.
Oh, our business isn't finished yet, Hope. I can assure you of that. What in the hell is that?
And we're back. Andy, what did you think of Ant-Man and the Wasp?
So it's kind of hard to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp without really talking about Ant-Man because they're pretty similar in a lot of ways. Oh! Whoa! Wow, where did you come from?
I shrunk down.
You were shrunken down this whole time?
Yeah.
Oh, God, what did I say? No, I think we're good. I think we're in the clear. Well, everybody, if you remember, this here is Ant-Man. You may have seen him before in a podcast where we discussed Ant-Man and Civil War, I believe. Yeah, you've been here for pretty much any time we're talking about Ant-Man. So,
Infinity War.
Well, he wasn't in Infinity War. That's the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know. You're probably too young to see Infinity War. It happened, but you're probably still too young to see Infinity War. Hey, so we just saw you grow from tiny to, Ant-Man sized. Do you want to show everybody how you can shrink down?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
3, 2, 1.
Whoa! Hey, there you are. Hey.
Hi.
Hi, Ant-Man. It's pretty cool. Are you like the only person that could ever get this size?
Yeah.
Yeah?
No, I don't think so.
What? The Wasp! We have Ant-Man and the Wasp here. This is amazing effects we got going on here. What do you have to say about that, Ant-Man?
I don't know.
Can you get any smaller?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Let's watch you get smaller. Should we do the countdown again?
3, 2, 1.
Oh, there you are. Oh, you okay, Ant-Man? You kind of fell.
Painful.
Yeah, I bet that hurt. Well, there you go. There's no way she can match you at this tiny size.
Oh, I can always match you, Ant-Man.
What? Such tiny little heroes.
What? She can grow that size. She can shrink that size too?
I guess so.
Of course I can.
Wow.
Well, how about you get back to your big size and we'll get Wasp out of here. Welcome back, Ant-Man. How about you show everybody your face? Take a big deep breath. Oh, look at that. It's Christopher. What a versatile child. 1 week you're Spider-Man, next week you're this. Well, month, I suppose we're at now.
I have a joke for you, Matt.
Matt,
Oh, okay.
we would like to tell you a joke.
I want to hear the joke.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Moo!
I think you missed a part of the joke, buddy. Do you want to try it again? All right, let's try it again.
Knock,
Okay.
knock.
Who's there?
You're supposed to say interrupt.
Interrupting cow.
I got it.
That's all right.
Do you want to do the other
Even
joke
better.
then?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
I don't want to do this joke. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Annoying cow.
Annoying cow who.
Well, these jokes just landed so well, Ant-Man. Even Wasps thought they were funny off camera. So you watched about half of Ant-Man and the Wasp with us this week. Is it?
Yeah.
First you thought you didn't want to watch it, and then you sat and watched it, and you wanted to watch the beginning all over again, but we didn't let that happen. Do you like Ant-Man?
Yeah.
What do you like best about him?
Shrink.
The shrinking, yes. When he's little. What's your favorite part of Ant-Man and the Wasp?
I don't know.
Hello Kitty. Best
Hello Kitty.
Yeah, you like the Hello Kitty moment. Oh my God, he's gone again. Where'd he go? Where'd he go?
Hi.
That was impressive. You did that without the mask. It must be encased in this whole room. Like this rule, movie broke that rule pretty frequently. All right, buddy. I'm going to let you go now. And when we come back, we will talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Bye-bye.
I'm sorry about Germany. They just showed up. They said that it was a matter of national security. The Cap needed help. So
Cap?
Captain America, Captain Cap. It's what we call him. If you're a friend, I'm not saying I'm a friend of, little, I know him. He's not, whatever.
Okay, now that we've had our visit from Ant-Man, I can ask you the question that I was asking before. Andy, what are your thoughts on Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Yeah, and what I was kind of getting at is what you feel about Ant-Man, the first movie, will help drive what you feel about Ant-Man and the Wasp, because they are very similar movies. And in fact, like when we ranked them, I believe we had like Ant-Man 10 and Ant-Man and the Wasp 11.
Or maybe opposite, or it was something.
I think I fought to make sure Ant-Man. I think they tied. When we were doing
you're
a quick
You're
math
right.
smashing too. And I'm kind of glad I did that, because I found I've watched this 3 times now, as I was saying, and I kind of like it less each time. There's still things I like about it, and what I like about it are the Ant-Man stuff. Basically, that the things that I enjoyed about this series before, I still enjoy. But what I kind of notice is there isn't enough new in this. And in fact, it seems like a lot of decisions, whether they're, decisions made because they had to get around the whole franchising part of it, and like what happened with Ant-Man last time we saw him in Civil War, and feeling like I need to resolve that. But a lot of it's like this movie seemed like it was pulling him back again instead of progressing him forward. And that I found when now I'm not watching in the theater and just enjoying, a big Pez dispenser flying at something. It bugs me a bit.
Yeah, I see what you did there with Bug.
I actually didn't do it intentionally, but I'm proud of it nonetheless.
Okay. I think I kind of agree with you. This movie is fun for what it is, but it's very unambitious. Like you said, it's not really trying to progress the Ant-Man character. It does a lot to establish the Wasp, which I appreciate. I'm glad that we have, because I think I liked her in the first movie and I wanted more of her, and this movie gave us that. So I'm glad to see that. There are structural choices the movie makes, which I like that a movie is trying, and we'll talk more about them later.
Mm-hmm.
And I just generally really like this cast. Like, even like the new people they added, what's his name? Is it Randall Park? That's the FBI agent. Yeah.
So.
Like he fits right in with like Paul Rudd's sense of humor. Like those two playing off each other are very funny. I mean, but yeah, it just doesn't do anything new, and the few things that it emphasizes this movie that it didn't last movie, I don't think were as interesting as the stuff they did last movie. And I guess we'll talk about that in flaws, because that's one of my big flaws. I feel like I'm not really saying anything new here because I'm like, oh no, I want to talk about that later, I want to talk about that later, I want to talk about that later. But generally I just kind of agree with you. Like, this movie, it's not like a lot worse. It's not like I viewed it a second time and I'm like, oh, that's not nearly as good as I remember. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's there. It's okay. It's entertaining. It's funny, but
yeah, I mean, why, I came out liking it. And even now, I watch, he's like, yeah, that's nice. Because it's a Paul Rudd comedy. And, what we like about that is, we enjoy Paul Rudd. And, again, as you say, Randall Park interacts. The way people interact with, his Paul Ruddness is enjoyable stuff. And so that part I like. I like, when, the world is, you're small, the world is big. And then even the inverse, he's big, the world is small. Those bits were fun in the last movie. Well, again, they didn't do big, they just did small. So that's a bit of an ad, but they had that in Civil War. And it was fun then with, Ant-Man being probably one of the two most fun characters in that big battle, along with Spider-Man. Yeah. So that was there. But more specifically, and if I'm stepping on your conversation later, well, whatever, we're just gonna do it. Every time this movie starts to get into the science stuff, I kind of glaze over a bit.
No, I mean, so that actually wasn't going to be what I was going to talk about, but it's it's true. Like, there's a lot of gobbledygook in this movie. There's a lot of it's like, oh, this is science, but the way they treat science is just magic. And so, but they have to like throw a lot at you for you to understand the stakes of all the science stuff. And so they spend a lot of time explaining this and being like, well, we can't do it here, or we need this here, or we need this here. And it's just, they take a really long time to explain the stakes of everything that they could probably do a lot quicker without having to, because every time they explain the stakes, they're not making jokes about it. They're not having fun with it. They're just like, this is what this means. Let's be very clear about this. Mm-hmm. And the few times they do get to make jokes are just like when it is, it's like when it kind of fun. Like the first time they go see Bill and he's like, oh, how big do you get? It's like, oh, well, what's the biggest you got? It's like, that's kind of fun,
Mm-hmm.
But they don't do that enough.
He's fun when he's under house arrest and all that. Again, that's not hard to see. Like, that's just a Paul Rudd movie. That's not even like a superhero movie. This is I Love You, Man, or something like that, right? Which, it's a great movie. And that's enjoyable, but it also kind of gets into what I was talking about before, is everything is reset for him. Instead of seeing a Scott Lang that's progressed, the first movie is, an adult who discovers how to become a superhero for the first time, which is a formula that's happened many times before, but it was enjoyable because, the movie didn't take it seriously. It was a different world and, all of that. But it seems like because they're dealing with the Civil War, fallout, mm-hmm. Although ultimately, like, there were choices that they could have made that didn't have to be like this. It's again, and I understand why they make it like this, because it actually feels like there were consequences from that movie, unlike, say, Ragnarok to Infinity War or something like that. Like, it did make sense. How could Scott get out of this situation? Escaping jail isn't enough if he still wants to be in his family, which A, is a thing you want to be, but B, is also the movie would want him to be that. That's the
Right.
universe of the Ant-Man franchise. So I understand that, but then suddenly has no relationship with Hope and original Ant-Man anymore. Hank. Yeah. He doesn't have a relationship with them to start, and then when he has it with has another one, it's adversarial and cool again, just like it was in the first movie. Because he's using this experimental suit that Hank gives him, it glitches all the time, so it's like he's a novice at being Ant-Man again. And some of that leads to good comedy, right? With him being mid-size, small size in the school, and I think some of it is because they wanted to lean on that. They know that Paul Rudd's strength is as kind of an awkward hero. He's not a big awesome hero. He's like, hey, I'm trying to do some things, and it's comedic, but it also is kind of like, we've done this before. Is this what you're going to do each time? And it feels like a lot of sequels are like this, just straight up sequels. I don't mean superhero ones. Let's do what we did the last time, but a little bit more. And otherwise, it just feels like a reset. And it's almost like one of those sitcoms where like nothing can progress forward. We always need to, come back to the mean because that's the comfort area we were playing with. And I just find, especially as I watch it again, it's like, yeah, this is funny. And that's why I ended up liking a lot of it, is that it's still funny. It's still charming. But, I saw him kick a bunch of Avengers asses last time I see him, and now it's like he's the idiot who doesn't know how to be Ant-Man again.
Right, yeah, right. Now he has trouble even, tracking down and getting Walt and Goggins, who's just a dude.
Not even have a gun, really.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, some of the choices I think they make is, again, because I think they wanted to emphasize Hope in this movie. I think they wanted to emphasize that she's a hero, that she's very capable. She doesn't need him. So a lot of times when his suit's malfunctioning, she's the one that saves the day. The big action scene in this movie that focuses on someone being small and fighting like the action scenes were in the first movie was the Hope scene in the restaurant in the kitchen. They don't really ever go small besides that. They make other things big. But you never see them fight from the perspective of being small, which I actually think is a huge flaw in this movie, because that's the most interesting part of Ant-Man. Mm-hmm. Make Ant-Man small, have him fight big things.
Yeah, I mean, they're small in the car and the car chase, and then otherwise, like in different fights with Ghost, they shrink and then grow big, and many times it's like, but you already established you don't need to go big in order to punch somebody. Being small is supposed to be the same way.
Right, and the thing about when they shrink and go big in those fights with Ghosts, you don't see it from the perspective of them shrunken. You just see them disappear from screen and reappear big, which is a completely different dynamic. And I don't think it's as interesting to watch. There's nothing dynamic about that. And then the whole, the big motif of this movie was making other things big, making random things big. So the car chase, the highlight of that is the Hello Kitty Pez dispenser. Only I think they lean too heavily on that. And by the time it's over, it's I don't think it's as visually interesting to make other things really big in a way. I don't think it's exciting. It's a good gag, but I don't think it's exciting. I don't think it makes for a good action scene. I think it makes for funny, which is, again, what this movie does well. Yeah. So
and actually, even with the Hello Kitty dispenser, like you say, that they did that before, so that's why it was a great moment in the trailer, because it was the first one. But in the movie, we already saw her do that with the salt dispenser, and I think it was even more effective there.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, and again, it's just this movie doesn't have enough new, and it's not necessarily that it's big and exciting things, because I'm okay with the Ant-Man universe being smaller. But again, build around Scott Lang's charm, Paul Rudd's charm, the relationships between them, and yes, build up Wasp. But even there, it's they show how capable she was. We already established in the last movie that Hope is the far more capable person, and it's just Scott should be closer to her level now. That was the progression of that movie, but they're not comfortable with that relationship, and and it's just all right. And then, then Paul Rudd does a thing and it's funny. It's oh yeah, I enjoy this. So ultimately, I'm still at where I walk away from it. It's I enjoy this, but often I see a lot of the flaws, and, and some of it also is kind of what Marvel had problems with earlier, is that a lot of it is franchise interference almost, because the first part is they're dealing with the fallout from Civil War. and that leads to some good stuff, right?
Right.
In the park, that's a good thing. Him, building that ramp and stuff, a whole maze for Cassie, that's really good. Him doing close-up magic is really good. But it also, him not having any contact with Hope and Hank is less good. And then they have to set up the quantum realm because I think everybody on the internet has theorized this is going to play a big deal in Endgame. Sure. And so is this like, are these natural now? They did start the quantum realm. So even if it was never going to play a big part in Endgame, it would make sense that it would be a second part here because obviously he was there. Right. With Jenna Van Dyne, but it's just like, is this all because for the Ant-Man story, or is it this trying to unite these threads so it can play this, part within this bigger franchise? And I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and what you're saying is that, there are some, problems it's running into because it might try to be doing too much. But there's also some problems that runs into because it's not trying to do enough. It's not trying to progress him enough. It's not trying to do enough new things. It's choosing this like weird middle road that is safe. It's fine, but the more you watch it, the less it kind of shines for you. The shine is off. As a phrase it goes.
And I think another reason why I respond to it less now, like when I watched it when the Blu-ray came out, I watched it just this week, is this was a breath of fresh air after the heaviness of Infinity War. We watched that's the first time we watched it. It was like a month after. So, being reminded that these Marvel superhero movies can be fun again was nice after seeing everybody die, or not everybody, half of them. And of course, this movie ends the same way, but that's not really the takeaway. In fact, they even make sure to give you one last takeaway of the ant back on the drums, which frankly was more just annoying. Like I sat through the credits for that. But yeah, so there it was like this, and I think that's where the Ant-Man franchise is really well deployed. But now I'm at home and I have the option of watching any of these movies or even other movies that I sometimes watch, but mostly these movies. I just don't know. I probably just would rather watch Ant-Man again and just wish that the Wasp was doing the cool stuff that she did in this movie. But
yeah.
But you had a kind of another thought of what you like structurally, what you liked about this movie.
Yeah. So one of the things I actually really did like about this movie structurally has to do with the way they kind of set it up, which is in the first 5 minutes, the heroes have a quest, that they present to you. They have a way they say they can rescue Janet from the quantum realm. And then the entire movie is structured around what the heroes are trying to do proactively. They are trying to save someone. They are trying to do something that they have not been forced to do. They are not reacting to anyone. And if you compare this to pretty much any other Marvel or superhero movie, that is a rarity. Most of the time, superheroes are, it's like you get a first scene where they're kind of like, living up life since their last movie. They're chilling with their friends or whatever. And then the villain comes in there and they're like, oh my God, the villain's going to destroy the world. We have to stop the villain. The villains in this movie are obstacles to the hero's plan. Rather than where the heroes try to stop the villains are trying to stop the heroes in this movie. And that is a very different paradigm from what we normally see in superhero movies. And it's one that I thought was very clever. And frankly, I think they could deploy more often. It's just, and that's something that structurally I really like about this movie.
Yeah. And they're just obstacles. Like the heroes don't care about stopping these villains. They're just, let's get the thing back from them and then get back to what we need to do. We don't have time for this. Ghost can just be out there doing whatever. Right. Walt and Goggins can just be out there doing whatever as long as they're not up in our business. And of course, then the villains keep going. And then a further obstacle being the FBI itself. But yeah, it's never like, oh, we got to put aside our desire to save the city or, stop this bad guy. It's just like, you stole that thing from us. We got to get it back. Now that we got it back, let's just get out of here. We don't care about stopping you.
Right. I mean, and you can tell that by the way they kind of react to these, when they keep popping up during the big chase. They're not like, they're frustrated. They're like, just let me do what I'm trying to do here. It's I think you see that like on Hope's face. She's like annoyed at this like interference. She's like, I just want to blow this building back up. Um, so again, I think that's like a really clever way of framing the movie that is, in my opinion, very different. And it's something I really appreciated the first time I watched it, and I still like it. And I think it's a lesson that can be taken there about how not all plots have to be about stopping something. Plots can be about doing something. So,
yeah, and I
which
think the main plot is, fine. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think it's a good use of an interesting, villain. I think Ghost is an interesting villain, like visually.
Yeah.
And that I don't know if she's interesting as a person or anything like
no,
that.
there's not much there. It's just kind of like pain, and that's
Yeah.
it.
But like the look is, I think, really great. And yeah, and even there, like, we're told that Ghost has done some bad things in her past, largely because of people putting her up to it. But she's not really doing anything bad here, other than trying to save herself, which ultimately, and could imperil the life of Janet,
who you don't even really know is alive. I mean,
Yeah.
you have suspicions, but yeah, I mean, like, and she threatens to do bad stuff once or twice, but like, again, she doesn't, like, there's some mayhem. But like, even Walt and Goggins' men, I don't think they kill anyone. Like, this
well,
is
they say that they have killed many people, one under truth serum, but or at least, the white one did say that.
There's no such thing as truth serum.
I think there is. So yeah, no, and that fits with, again, the smaller scale adventures of Ant-Man, and they're fine. But yeah, I don't need to see Paul Rudd saving the world. Well, I mean, maybe he can save the universe in the next time we see him, because he's gonna be the only surviving comic relief character in the entire universe, or at least that kind of comic relief. They're still Rocket. But
I mean,
in his own movies, it's like, okay, that's not going to be Paul Rudd's gig. That's not his strength. So the smaller scale is good for them. It's just, let's get a new scale, or at least next time, if there is
a new character scale, perhaps, at least. Like show some growth, do something new with him as a hero, as a person. And I think they were trying to show him being more mature with the fact that he kept trying to go back to his house arrest.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it really landed, as a new arc. So,
and if there is another one, I'm sure there will, because now it's all set up. He's with Wasp. Wasp is a thing. He'll have just possibly played a central role in restoring the entire universe. Whether that is remembered or not, who knows, or whether it even happens or not. I mean, I have a pretty good feeling at least one of the characters that turned to dust will be coming back, thanks to Sony's marketing department. But we don't know fully how that will play out. All right, so I think that's good on the general discussion.
One quick question. Does your ranking of this movie changed? We had it 11 last time, I think, as a group ranking.
Yeah, I think that was way too generous. I don't remember, I had it lower than you in the first place. I don't quite remember.
I think we were pretty
mine
close, though.
But honestly, just thinking of the Phase 3 movies, this one's right around more now the Guardians 2 Doctor Strange range, where it's like, I like that, but it's not my favorite.
Yeah, I think that's probably around where it is for me too. Maybe 14, 15, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Now the thing that might keep it up is that, as we discovered, a lot of the Phase 1s were fairly
mediocre.
Minor.
Yeah.
I mean, some had their own charms. We discovered that we like Thor better than we thought we would. I still hold up first
Avenger.
First Avenger. I'm not sure you actually have another Phase 1 that you think is better than the others. For you, it's more Phase 2. You like Iron Man 3 a little bit better. But I think it's probably this one is probably more comfortably situated around 15. Again, it's like a lot of Marvel movies in that you'll probably still enjoy it. It's not you're gonna walk out being like, oh god, that was awful. But it is it has minor ambitions, and it meets that mark.
Okay, so, I think that's that. And when we come back, we'll talk about our favorite sequences.
So Scotty goes on house arrest, and he won't admit it, but his heart is all like, damn, I thought Hope could have been my new true partner, but I blew it. But fate brought them back together, and then Hope's heart is all, I'm worried that I can't trust him, and he's gonna screw up again and ruin everything. And then my heart is all like, that fancy raspberry filling represents the company's red, and we're days away from going out of business. Oh!
And we're back, and we're here to talk about our favorite sequences. I'm going to go first here. Okay.
Go ahead.
I thought about saying something else, but I had a last minute change of heart. I'm going with Luis and the Truth Serum.
Louise and the Truth Serum. That's my answer too.
Oh, okay. That's why I wanted to go first, because I wanted to steal it from you. Um, Luis is the freaking star of these movies. Like he's great. I love him so much. One of the poorest choices they made in this movie is they only gave him one of those type of monologues rather than the two they had in the original Ant-Man. You got to match that at least. You got to at least keep us level there. So
Yeah. Now, I feel like this one went bigger maybe than the other ones. So maybe just a few more reenactments and they let, Hope play and that sort of thing. So that worked. And yeah, I like earlier I was talking about how this felt very much like, a regular, especially comedy sequel where it's just like, it's going to be the same thing, but, bigger or, maybe just a little different. Yeah. So this is the same thing. It's just, keep giving it to me. I don't care. More of the same. If we can get Louise somehow like explaining the great departure in the next movie, I mean, it would probably be inappropriate, but I'd still be up for that.
I have seen the suggestion that they before Endgame comes out, Luis should recap the entire MCU, and I would watch that. That would be amazing. That would be like a great couple minutes video.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, so some other stuff I like just to kind of highlight some other scenes. I like the Hope fight scene in the kitchen. I think that's a good fight scene. I like the general beginning with him, house arrest, playing with Cassie. I thought that's a very sweet scene. I just really like his relationship with Cassie in general. I think that's one of the strengths of the movie. That's about it. Those are my highlights.
I like the car chase because again, Luis is heavily involved in it. Especially when he's first in the car and things start shrinking, and then we get a call back to the undercarriage wash. That's fun. But yeah, no, it's Luis, and frankly, that scene is just an example of why ultimately, usually, you're going to come out of this movie and be like, yeah, I like that because that's just fun. It's good. It's funny. It's an enjoyable time. The movie don't tend to run long. I don't believe this has a long run time.
It's just under 2 hours, which is pretty short.
Nowadays, that's really brief.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
So yeah, I think it's indicative of what's good about this movie, and yeah, he's just funny. It's a great bit. More of it. So then let's move on to biggest flaws, and I'll start just
sure.
So we're 2 movies in now with this character, and I still don't feel like I have much of a reason to care about the Wasp. I thought she looked great in this movie, a great costume. I think her power set was great. Again, the action sequence was the best action sequence. But like in terms of like how I really feel about Hope, I'm not particularly drawn to her. And I think some of this is an issue that movies get to, often with minority characters, but maybe also with women, is that in the attempt to try and make them seem, maybe, really good or regal or whatever, they also take out a lot of the interest about them. Hope doesn't get to have any flaws, and she doesn't, she is the one that's better at everything and more driven, and she's on mission and all that. And again, this is also probably where they undid the fact that she had already developed a relationship with Scott for much of it, and then it starts to kind of, as they're together, you start they start to reunite a bit, although I don't necessarily know if I ever really feel that chemistry completely, in part because they got 2 hours to save her mom's life or whatever. But it's just like, I don't know if like what her personality is besides really good at stuff.
Yeah, and I think the other reason why they fall into that trap is because everything that she does is entirely defined by her relationship to someone else and is a reaction to her relationship to someone else. We have the stuff she does because of her relationship to Scott. We have the stuff she does because of her relationship to her father, Hank. And then in this movie, the new wrinkle is, well, her relationship to her mother. But none of those color who she is. They just inform why she's doing what she's doing now. It's because of she has a relationship with this person. We know the status of that relationship, but we don't get a lot about who she is. And to the extent we do get who she is, it's like you say, it's just like competent. just like very competent. And that's, you're right. I mean, and it's definitely what they do with minority characters a lot. But I think in this case they just have to do it with the woman's sidekick, who they don't want to be a sidekick, but they can't define her, a personality beyond that.
Yeah, and I think it's really apparent in this movie because I am both of these movies, because the general tenor and tone of these films are affable fuck-ups. I forgot that we don't swear on these podcasts. But so Scott is funny and he's kind of bumbling around. Louise is the star and he's kind of a bit of a moron. Baba Yaga and all this funny stuff. Even like his ex-wife and her husband now are kind of goofballs. The FBI guy is a goofball, but she is really smart and serious and accomplished. And it's just like, but that's kind of not the fun, and it's not quite at the scold girlfriend level, but it's of that vine. She's when he starts goofing around, or stop goofing around already. It's like, but the goofing around is the best part of these movies, Right. And I say, Jen, she's not necessarily nagging, and every once in a while, when she's with Louise, she can smile a bit. She does get off a few, like digs at Scott, when he's little and all of that. But it's just, she isn't fun in a movie whose entire modus operandi is being fun. And it's unfortunate because, again, her action is great, her look is great, but just like if you're thinking of like characters you love, and even if you want like Marvel character, like female characters that you love, and there aren't that many to choose from, like she doesn't pop off the screen like Shuri does, or even like Okoye does. Like I'm not even talking like necessarily like at the level of Black Widow or hopefully what Captain Marvel will be. And now that I bring that up, I have a similar fear about Captain Marvel in the way that she's been presenting in the trailers. She just, it's just like, she's the biggest hero. She's the most powerful thing in the Marvel Universe. She's here to save the day. And she's, done all of these things. Look how inspirational she is. It's like, I haven't yet gotten an attachment of who Carol Danvers is. And I feel like it's this, and now we have a whole movie, so hopefully. But I feel like that's kind of where Hope Van Dyne is, after two movies. It's like, I'm interested. I want to know, but I don't feel like I really have an attachment to her. I'd be surprised if she's anybody's favorite character.
I would also. So my biggest flaw is just has to do with the fact that they just didn't do as much shrinky, the shrinky fight action scenes. I think those. I think the kitchen fight's the best action scene in this movie. Actually, when I watched it again, like, I really didn't like the chase as much as I did the first time. Like, I thought the chase kind of, it kind of bored me after a bit. It's like once I'd seen it, there was nothing exciting about it. And so seeing it again. And so I wish they had done more of that kind of shrinky fighting, because that's, I think, the interesting hour of Ant-Man and the Wasp. They can shrink down and then they're fighting, and like the giant knife she's dodging, or her just running through the kitchen. I think that's a great scene. I wish they had done more of that. It's the thing that I missed the most about this movie compared to the first one. I think you're right.
Did a car chase scene in San Francisco, never done before.
Yes, no, never done before. Not since every movie ever set in there since Bullet. Which So I mean, you're absolutely right about they should do more for her character. I think we complained about that in the first movie. I think
just let her have some personality. Let her play with the others. Again, she can still be, the competent one. She can still be, the one that has her stuff together. But let her smile a bit more. Let her have some fun. And again, I think this is where resetting Scott back to having no relationship reset her back to that part. And I think Evangeline Lilly does some subtle but work with that Scott hurt her, and she broadcasts that. I think her arc with her mom really gives her a chance to emote really well. Like you feel, when she gets, when Scott is her mom, and that touching, and then when she finally sees her mom, you feel those moments. But it's just, she doesn't have enough zest and verve, especially for this franchise, but
Yeah.
frankly for the MCU as a whole. Like Gamora has been able to have more, and she's like an alien warrior, right? A Nebula, I think, has even been able to have a little bit more personality through I think the 3 times we've seen her. But it seems like this movie just didn't get there. There are pieces, and it's very easy to see where they could go from there. But I mean, that was true at the end of the last movie, and they didn't quite go there. So
right, and I think that's the thing. Like, they just did not progress the characters in any meaningful way in this movie, and I think that's what held it back. That there's no difference in where they are now than from where they were at the last movie, except that, well, now her mom's here.
Yeah.
So,
and she's not going to be in the next movie we see because she was turned to dust. So it's just like, I hope we get to see her in an Avengers movie, being an Avenger. I think that giving her characters to play off with that aren't Paul Rudd would also be helpful, because again, it's just tough because so much of this is just on his affable charm.
right.
And frankly, like seeing her not always completely responding to it, obviously responding to it in some ways, I think would help. Seeing her bond with like a Black Widow or something would help. But it's just like, I feel like they, in the attempt to show like, we can have a kick-ass female superhero, the first titular, female hero in the Marvel universe. They forgot to also like give her personality, and maybe that's because so much of personality in this franchise is defined by people's flaws, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even Walton Goggins, big crime boss, is kind of messing up a few times because that's just kind of the oddball sense of humor. Yeah. But they didn't want to do that with her because they're like, no, we're going to show you how she's really awesome. And what's interesting is that kind of is in contrast to the traditional Wasp character, who was always the far more fun one. Like, Ant-Man, especially when it was Hank Pym, he was kind of this dull scientist, and Janet Van Dyne was the one full of life and energy. Even back, when she was debuting in the '60s, where the role was just the girl. Right. Invisible Woman, just like Jean Grey, were always just the girl. Wonder Woman, literally got kicked out of the Justice League because they figured they can't have a girl do it, but you can answer the phones. I think that was even earlier, maybe in the '60s. But she was still the more fun one, to the point where she stuck around the Avengers and they got Hank Pym off the up out of there. Now this one, they
wasn't that because there were some
that was one panel that nobody cared about for a longest time until people were like, wait, that ain't cool. Okay. And that's actually become more of a modern interpretation of Scott Lang, or not, sorry, of Hank Pym. But no, Janet Van Dyne was always the more fun character in most every other medium. Now, of course, she's not Janet, but I mean, she's the love interest of Ant-Man who can do all the Wasp things. She's kind of Janet. Right. But in this one,
right? Yeah.
So just make her more fun, and it doesn't have to be funny, because I don't think Evangeline Lilly necessarily is a comedic actress, and it doesn't even have to be fun. Make her more something.
But when she like teases him, like those are funny. Like, it's like, if you do want to make her funny, that's the way to make her funny. She even smiles when she does that because she knows like the character there is having fun. So if you do want to make her funny, if you want to have her play more into the tone of the movies, have her do more of that. She is the competent one, so she's teasing people for not being as competent as she is. Yeah. That's what that's what
Shuri does, right? Like, this can be done, right?
So anyway, I think we've talked a lot about the flaws here. Should we take a break and come back for some trivia?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay.
How big did you get?
My record, 21 feet.
Not bad.
You?
I don't.
No, really, I'm curious.
65 feet.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Huge.
65.
If you two are finished comparing sizes.
And we're back, and we are here for our episode trivia game. So what do you got for us this week, Alex?
Yeah.
A lot of trivia.
What a shock. All right. So, yes, I believe I won last week, or last episode. I'm going to win this episode. I'll win next episode. The answer is Captain Marvel. But who are you asking the first question for?
Matt.
Okay.
What is Ant-Man's company called?
I got it.
Lang Enterprises. I don't know.
Ex-Con.
Okay.
In Italian, that would honestly mean X with.
Yeah, and then they make and it's a security. I think I know this because they sold like ex-con merch at the Disney store. That's how it locked into my brain. That's why it can never be at yours. So many.
Fair enough.
Yours.
All right.
Okay.
What is Janet Van Dyne's sword thing made out of?
Janet Van Dyne's sword thing. Okay. Kind of looks like it's a bug wing. I don't know why there's bugs down there though. So that wouldn't make any sense. But it looks like that. Like it'd be like the wing of a. But it's also normal. I'm gonna say I don't know. That's my answer. It's a bug wing.
Is it a tardigrade?
Yeah, you kind of got it right, but not actually right. It's her wings.
Her own wings.
Oh yeah, from her costume. Well, that makes a lot more sense because again,
that does make a lot more sense.
Why are there bugs down there? But no, she is down there.
Okay, so
that's not right. I didn't get it.
No.
All right, Matt.
I can tie it up.
What is Cassie's teacher's name? No, sorry.
Oh yeah. Who's Kathy, by the way?
Cassie.
Yeah.
What are the words on Ant-Man's trophy for Matt?
Did you watch this movie?
No, I didn't. No. Oh, it's world's greatest grandmother.
No, it's world's greatest grandma.
Mom.
I'm taking it.
Yeah, you got it. Oh, now this is for you.
Well, yeah, you can go ahead because I don't really answer this. He's asking what's the name of Cassie's teacher,
right?
Which was set on the classroom door at her school, which I think is Bridgeport Elementary, but I don't know the name of her teacher.
I don't either.
I'm just gonna say this is all her money.
Well,
okay.
What's the answer to that question?
It's Mrs. Broadwell.
Broadwell.
Okay.
You know, you think it would have been like an Easter egg, but even so, I've never read, Ant-Man comics or anything, so it wouldn't tell me anything. All right, last question. For Matt to have a chance to tie this guy who's already has a 2-point lead.
No. It's all the money.
No, this is it.
All the money.
Ask the question already.
Okay. Name of the main color and make off of.
Okay, let's try that again. Start it again.
Name of the main color and make of the car Louise gets to drive when he is trying to escape from the bad guys.
Well, it's a purple car with orange and yellow flames, but I don't know what cars are called. They have names. There's other companies with cars.
I'm not a car person.
You know what? You know what make it is and model? It's a Hot Wheels. That's what it is. Yeah, we're not car people, so I got a half point, and that's all I needed. I just needed to keep you from scoring. What's the answer? Stop making noises extraneously, as I've told you before.
Hyundai.
Hyundai. Well, that's only the make. There's no model. Is there a model name?
Oh, he just said make. I don't think he did ask for model, actually.
Yep, he did. Okay, well, anyway. Purple! Boom! Purple Hyundai with flames. See, so I gotten like 2 out of 3 parts of that question right.
There you go.
And I mean, Matt is clearly just waking up. He just.
Sometimes you pay attention to the wrong things.
Yeah, you're like interpersonal dynamics or whatever, or the nicknames for the various children, Peanut and Jelly Bean, just in case that was going to be asked. Now, I hate to see it happen to somebody, but I'm glad it didn't happen to me. Maybe next. No, I actually think our next podcast could be harder because
we're both going to be in the theater watching
any of this stuff, as we will just be watching it for the first time.
That's right.
Maybe that means we're never going to do trivia again. Hi, Alex. How does this feel for you to be the last podcast you're ever going to be on?
I know you're joking. I actually pay attention to
what do you think of Ant-Man and the Wasp?
It was awesome. I love Pez.
That's the big takeaway. He's a big Pez fan, so their
Okay.
their product placement worked well.
I have a Pez right outside.
You have a Pez
New
right
generation of Pez fans.
Yeah, well, we got a Pez on display right there, and it's not even yours. I don't know. What do you think of that? In fact, a lot of the stuff on display is not yours this time.
4 Funkos.
Christopher is growing up.
I know. I collect Funkos.
All right. That's all for tonight. Next time, we'll see you again, and hopefully your mom won't have to ask you like 3 nights in a row to get on this trivia work. But probably will.
Cut that out.
All right. So when we get back, we are going to talk about the big idea.
Look at us, teaming up twice in one day.
Makes you think, huh?
About what?
Germany.
What do you mean?
We were working together, training together, and other stuffing together.
If I'd asked you, would you have come?
I guess we'll never know. But I do know one thing.
What?
If I had, you'd have never been caught.
And we're back, and we're here for our big idea. And our big idea this week is we are asking the question, should Marvel continue to go small? That's right, we're steering right into the Ant-Man puns again. I mean, this is a question about stakes. Ant-Man is a character who over 2 movies has not had world-saving stakes. Though I guess the stakes were bigger in the first one than the second. But is this something that other Marvel movies in the MCU should they emulate that? Should they also have smaller stakes, especially in the wake of Endgame, where the stakes are going to be as big as they can possibly be?
Yeah, and it seemed like we were complaining a bit that this movie felt a little, small. But I don't think small is quite the right word and what we were getting at, but it's more like undeveloped, or just it wasn't justified enough of what it is, because it felt like a lot of the same. Because I don't think either of us had an issue with the stakes, because I think Marvel needs to have a place in their universe for smaller stories, because not every character fits into that world, and if they want to keep bringing in new characters, and they very much do, it can't all be big. Now,
Right.
You could take small characters we don't really know much about and make them big. They did that with Guardians of the Galaxy, who, saved the galaxy. So, I guess, yeah. And then doomed it the 3rd time. But there needs to be a place, because an Ant-Man story that's about saving the entire universe I don't think we're going to buy that. And then there's other characters in their stable, which I think they can make really fun movies about. But again, the stakes need to be smaller. So yeah, I do think it needs to happen, but I don't think that they necessarily need to just like after Endgame go completely small, like the next Avengers movie or whatever they call it, because I could see them like maybe not doing an Avengers, but just some kind of Marvel branded thing if they're going to do non-Avengers teams as well.
The Revengers, right, with Thor?
Exactly. I was thinking more like maybe you just do, call it Secret War, Marvel Secret Wars, and then you don't have to worry about what team or whatever, instead of doing the thing where anytime a superhero appears on screen, they're automatically an Avenger. Although I don't mind that either. But yeah, that could be big too. They could be fighting Galactus or Kang or, time travel, things or whatever. Those movies can always be big, but I think they need room in their universe to tell stories that are small and do so in a way that they don't feel less than.
Yeah, I mean, and that's actually, we talk about the stuff that this movie did well, the stuff that did not do well. I think the structural stuff, as in keeping the stakes small but appropriate to the hero, keeping the mission as one they were something they were trying to do rather than something they were trying to prevent. I think those are all good choices they made to this movie. I don't think that's why this movie felt a little lesser than, as we're talking about. But as you said, it's because it repeated itself. Small stakes does not mean that you can't have the big action sequences. It doesn't mean that you can't have a good, fun movie. Small stakes just means you match the stakes to the hero. And there are some heroes who are more appropriate to be doing, stuff like what we see in this movie than they are to saving the universe. And, look, if every day you save the universe, it's hard to keep one-upping yourself. The reason I say maybe they should tone it down after Endgame, I proposed it that way, is because you're not going to one-up Thanos right away. Or else then you have to keep one-upping that. Now, maybe the next, Avengers one, you one-up Thanos. Though, even there, I don't think they will. I think, as you said, like Secret Wars or something is a good like next crossover or whatever, especially because they'll be setting up the Skrull in Captain Marvel. But so it's not about, but and those are different stakes, than just, this guy has a doomsday device. I have to stop the doomsday device. I could see the next Doctor Strange movie having stakes of this guy's trying to kill all magicians, which is different stakes than this guy's trying to unleash a demon upon Earth.
Yeah. And you already see it in the trailers for the next MCU movie after Endgame. It doesn't look like Spider-Man is trying to undo the deaths of half of the universe. It doesn't look like he's saving the world at all. So, even just within that franchise, and that, again, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Yeah. And they've created a nice world where Spider-Man can dip into these big things, because I thought he fit into Infinity War just fine. But he's more comfortable on this smaller level. So that's another one. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I could see the next one being big, but yeah, I also don't think they can top, especially one movie later, restoring the lives of the universe, right? Like, that's kind of one of the things that I liked about Infinity War, that some people obviously bristled at, that it's like, oh, they're going to undo it. It's like, yeah, because that's a new thing. That'll be a new thing. They've saved the universe. They've saved the world. This is we're going to, restore. We lost, saving is out of the question. We didn't. And now this is a new thing. And yeah, I don't see how they top that. Even if Galactus comes, eating Earth isn't even as much as stopping Thanos and having the supreme power of all creation. So yeah, I think, in some ways, anything they do, I think, save fighting the Beyonder, which please don't fight the Beyonder. That stories suck.
I don't even know what that is, but I'm going to take your word for that. I mean, I think the other way to think about this is also like keep things local for a time. They're going to make another Black Panther movie. You don't have to have Black Panther go into outer space, to have a good Black Panther movie. In fact, I think that would not be a good Black Panther movie for a sequel. Hey, if you would keep making Black Panther movies, then sure, do something like that. But your next movie should be local to that character, should be something that is in that character's domain and that fits that character's stakes. The first Black Panther movie, its stakes were not that huge comparatively. It's basically about, a political takeover and trying to start wars, trying to start rebellions. Those are much different stakes than, again, trying to end the universe or something like that. Captain America was for a time our smaller stakes hero, but he kept getting blown up because he's the face of the thing. So, I mean, there are ways they can do this, and I think it's just a matter of the right hero, because some heroes you do need bigger stakes because they're overpowered. Captain Marvel seems like a pretty powerful hero. It probably wouldn't fit for her to be going on some sort of heist quest. You want her to, a character like that, you want to be fighting for something bigger, but not every character's powers should match up with that. And again, there's always the crossover for when that happens. So,
yeah, and I think, the first Ant-Man showed, that had come after Ultron almost destroyed the planet and stuff. And then, it's a heist, and it was just kind of, and it was fun. It was light. And we even talked about how that is how they could deploy the Ant-Man movies, is bring them in as kind of, the appetizer, not the appetizer. We never actually figured out. But anyway, the last little dessert note following a big meal of the huge crossovers. And again, we talked about how that functioned well because we came out of that one like, yeah, that was nice. Yeah, I wanted nice. And now we're like, yeah, it was all right. Especially because I've rewatched Infinity War fairly recently too, and I was just like, yeah, I'd rather just watch Infinity War again.
Was it a Booze Boosh? Is that what we were thinking of?
That's where we were at, but I think we still weren't right. So nobody got back to us about the French cuisine.
I know, right? What's going on here?
You guys. It is important that they can do that, and I can think of many characters they want. Like if they're going to do a Master of Kung Fu movie, Shang-Chi that they're developing. Yeah, it's going to be a dude fighting other dudes about fighting stuff, right?
Which is fine. That can be a good movie. It's just about, matching stakes to the character and just balancing that. Not every movie should be one or the other. Not every movie should be so small, it's about that, but not every movie should be so big that it's anything. Balance them, and just and I think they will do a bit more small to start off because I think they're gonna ramp back up to their next crossover. But yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
if you look at the ones in the pipe, obviously we've got Spider-Man. Black Widow sounds like it might start filming soon. That's probably going to be nation-based problem, spy type stuff, but not necessarily global. Yeah, Shang-Chi would be of fighting stuff. And yeah, I think this will help, and I think what also could help is they had artificially, when they were earlier developing their universe, it's like these are the big movie type characters, and then these are our TV Netflix characters.
Yeah,
and so they did like a Daredevil. There's nothing that I feel like a Shang-Chi movie would be that couldn't have been necessarily a Daredevil movie in terms of stakes. Obviously, they will be very different characters and all of that, but Daredevil is a guy fighting a bunch of guys usually, right? But they decided at first those Daredevil, Iron Fist, that level, that's going to be TV level. But now it's not like that because I think they want to develop these other parts of the universe and open up other markets and that sort of thing. And also because apparently they're going to make TV shows with like some of their most powerful characters in Loki and Scarlet Witch and Vision. So hopefully those lines will start to blur.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think they will a bit. And, I think they are. I mean, obviously, we don't really know what their plans are for after Endgame besides Spider-Man. But I think they know that, it's going to be a different balance they're going to have, at least initially for Phase 4.
Yeah, especially because they probably have to build a bunch of characters up because they might.
Which is really why I think that. So.
Yeah, because even after all of this, Ant-Man won't be ready to, be the marquee leader of, global threat, stopping Avengers, And
though it would be kind of fun to see Paul Rudd try to present himself as such.
Yeah, although, him and, Peter might do like a whole awkward off or something. The interesting thing is to be like, if at the end of this, like, obviously, like, Black Panther would be a perfect leader of that level, but it's like, is he gonna even know any of this? Who knows? All right, so yeah, I think there's room in this universe for small scale adventures. I think there needs to be. And what are we doing next?
We'll be back next month to cover the new movie in the MCU, Captain Marvel.
Yeah, so if you're subscribed to our channel, you'll get a notification on YouTube. If you're not subscribed, go ahead, do that right now. And it's a podcast or video, or say, pound that like button and all that stuff, whatever. You can also subscribe to the podcast via iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play, or you can follow our website, which is www.infinitystonepodcast.wordpress.com. Or you can follow us on that social media site, Twitter. What's the handle again?
Pod_infinity.
Why did I even ask? But no, you can follow us. It's so bad. It's so bad. But yeah, looking forward to the next Marvel movie. Despite the reservations I expressed, I'm pretty sure it'll be awesome. Hopefully they let Carol be all the things that she can be. And I bet they will. Right now, they're just trying to maybe it's the stakes thing. They're trying to make it seem as big as the other Avengers movie, whereas this will probably be the smallest scale Captain Marvel story they'll ever tell.
I think that's probably true. So,
all right. What do we say now? Roll credits.
Roll credits. That's it.
So long to cover this anyway.
Well, see, that's complicated. See, when this movie came out, I was at the beach with my family, and me and my sister, we were working this 1,000-piece puzzle. You know the type, it had lots of waters and fishes, and you know how I'm all about that marine life. Red snappers, barracudas, manta rays. I love them rays. You know there's a fish called the midshipman. It has a row of bioluminescent spots that looks like the lights on the side of a ship.
Matt. Focus.
Oh, right. So I was down at the shore, but I couldn't see the movie right away anyway, and we were talking about other movies while I was out, and I was like, hey, we should record this episode now while it's out and fresh in our minds, and you all know we should wait until we have recorded them all in case we have more ideas. And then when we recorded Infinity War, you were like, hey, let's do Ant-Man and the Wasp now. But I was like, hey, man, I don't even remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. How can I remember that movie? So we agreed to wait until it was released on DVD.
Yeah, but that was months ago. Why are we just doing this now?
Oh, well, funny story there. See, you got the movie when it came out on Blu-ray, and we're like, hey, Matt, time to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp now. And I was like, oh, man, now I got to go to the library and take it out. But the library had a long wait list. And then I found out I need to renew my library card. And the library was like, you have to fill out this form. And I was like, but I just got this recently. How is it all expired? And they were like, look, it's really easy. But I said to you, hey, it's coming out on Netflix soon, so we can just wait.
So you were being lazy.
Yeah, I was just being lazy.